Welcome everyone. Welcome back to my series of videos on servlets and JSPs. And this video is a continuation to the last few videos where we discussed about creating a login form and verifying the login details from the database and displaying some kind of a welcome message or error message based on whether the user is verified or not. Let us continue further. So this is what we have done so far. We have created a login form. From there, we have redirected login form to login servlet. And in our last video, we have actually done it with login.jsp file. Okay. And then what we have done is we have taken the data from the form and then took the data, sent it to the database verification with the help of user DAO class, and we have called this method called verify user, and then with the help of that class, user DAO class and verify user method, we have verified whether the user is available in the database or not. And then further, with the help based on the result that we got from there, we have shown a message called uh, login successful or login failure. Okay, what we want to do right now is, in the previous video, let me compare what is the difference from the previous video. In the previous video, we are only we are only showing the welcome message. We are showing welcome, that username, okay, welcome, that email address followed by an exclamatory mark, okay, or we are showing login failed and try again, okay, something like that. These two separate messages we were trying to get, and these two separate messages were printed depending upon what is the result here in the second step. Okay, so we were not doing any kind of forward. In the previous program, we were not doing any kind of forward. We were just showing this message, welcome message, if it was a success, or we were showing this login failed message if it was not a success. What we are going to do now is a little extension of this program. And what is that extension? What we are going to do is we are actually going to create two separate pages. Okay, we are going to create two separate pages. This will be a separate page, separate servlet. Okay, for now we will do with servlet, and then later we will do it with JSP. We You already know how easy JSP is, but to do JSP you need to understand servlet. Okay, oh sorry, we will be creating a separate servlet. Okay, we will be creating two separate servlet pages for success page and failure page, or let us call it error page. Okay, and then what we are going to do is we are going to forward to success page as well as include the servlet failure page. Let me write it down. What we are going to do basically is we are going to forward, okay, forward to success page if it is a success, and include login page if it is a failure. What is the difference? We will discuss exactly what the difference is, okay, and how do we achieve it. To achieve this kind of behavior, forward and include, what are they? First of all, what are the forward and include behavior? Okay, in servlets we have a concept of redirecting our pages, redirecting our results. Okay, to redirect the web pages, or let us say redirect the user to different web pages. Okay, there are multiple ways of doing it. Okay, one very straightforward way is called send redirect. Okay, there is this method called send redirect. Okay, what send redirect does, it redirects the current web page to another web page. Whenever I say web page, it could be a servlet, it could be a JSP, or it could be HTML. It could be any of the web-based type resources. Okay. Now that is done. How is it done? Okay. Send redirect can be done with the help of a method called send redirect, and this send redirect method is available in our response object. So we have to write response dot send redirect. Okay, and in this send redirect you just have to supply what is the location. Okay, resource name. Okay, you just have to supply the resource name and it will be redirected to that particular resource name. Okay, we will try that. We will try one more thing. There is another thing called forward, which I was just mentioning here. Okay, so forward will forward in the sense it will uh, send the request and response objects from the current page to destination page. Okay, so by destination I mean something like that we will be writing, and we have to provide the resource name, and that resource name is our destination, and it will send the request and response objects to the destination page. Okay, and how do we write it? This is done with the help of request object. Request dot forward, sorry, my mistake. First of all, we need a request dispatcher object for this purpose. Okay, so we need a request dispatcher object. Okay, and on this request dispatcher we have to get it. We will discuss what to write to get the request dispatcher. Okay, and suppose that you have the request dispatcher available, then all you have to do is rd dot forward. Okay, and we are supplying what? We are supplying just the request and response objects. Okay, so why are we supplying request and response objects? Whatever request that current page has received and whatever response that the current page is trying to build, okay, they will be maintained, and that information will be sent to the other page. Okay, so what we want to do in forward, we want to send the request and response objects from the current page to the destination page. Okay, current page is the program where you are writing this forward technique. Okay, so suppose that now we are in the login servlet. In login servlet we will be writing something like this, and then from login servlet it will go to the destination page. So let me write how to write the destination page. For getting the request dispatcher object, all you have to do is make use of an existing object, and that existing object is request dot. Okay, we are using the existing request object. On that request object we have to call get request dispatcher. Okay, and here in this get request dispatcher method you have to supply the destination page. Okay, you have to supply the destination page there. So whichever destination page you supply here in the get request dispatcher method call, that will be the destination page. That means you just have to supply the URL pattern of the destination page. Here also you have to supply the URL pattern of the destination page. Okay, so when you are supplying this URL pattern of the destination page, that particular destination page will be connected to this request dispatcher object. And when it is connected to the request dispatcher object, and then when you are calling this forward method, by supplying request and response objects, what you are trying to say is whatever is the current request and response object content of the login servlet, that data will be sent to this destination page. Okay, and destination page will receive that content. Okay, and what is the advantage of it, that we will see in a little while. Let me also introduce you one more type of redirecting. Okay, this another type of redirecting is called include. Okay, what include does, it does not send the request on it, kind of, it sends the request and response object to the another destination page, but here the process works a little differently. Let me just copy this part. Okay, it is sending request and response objects to from the current page to another page, definitely, but how it is done, it will also need this request dispatcher object. Okay, so let me just copy this part. Okay, so we need this request dispatcher object. Okay, but here whatever destination page you are supplying, and then if you are writing this method called call include. Okay, let me just highlight that with a different color for your reference. Bad color, this is better. Okay, and this one is forward. Okay, so if I am calling include method now, then what happens? Okay, if the destination page is attached to the request dispatcher, and if I'm using include method, what happens? And if I'm using forward method, what happens? Let me show you. For if you are using forward with the request dispatcher, okay, then that page, the current page is replaced by the content of destination page. That will happen with forward. Okay, current page is replaced, the content of current page is replaced by the content of the destination page. Okay, but when it comes to include, include will maintain the current page content, while destination page content is included. What is the meaning of included? You can imagine it as two different pages are put together as a single page. Okay, so let me also write that up for your reference. Content of two pages are put together. Okay, that is the effect of include. Okay, so let us try all three of them one by one. Okay guys, so we are first going to try that send redirect. Okay, so for send redirect, what is the option here? We have to use this send redirect method, and how to use it? We have to use it with the help of response dot send redirect. Okay, that means we have to use this response object, and on response object we have to call send redirect method and supply the resource name. By resource name, as I mentioned, I mean any type, whether a servlet or a JSP or a HTML file. In this particular case, we want to use send redirect in the case of failure. Okay, in the case of failure, if the user is not verified, then we just want it to refresh or go back to the login page. Okay, we want it to go back to the login page if the user is not verified. Okay, so that is what we are going to do. See guys, this small page, this is the continuation of the last program. Okay, so here currently we are writing else block where we are writing this wrong login credentials information. Okay, so what we are going to do is we are going to make it redirect back to the previous page, which is login page. Currently, try to observe, this is our login servlet class. Okay, from login servlet class, what we are going to do is we are going to redirect it back to login page, and so that user can try logging in again. Okay, so what I am going to do is, for now I will hide this wrong login credentials related message. Okay, and I am writing response dot send redirect. Okay, and I'm going to supply a resource name. What resource name? I want to supply login.html as my redirecting resource name. Okay, so what I mean by this is I want to redirect from login servlet to login.html if the user is not found in the database. Okay, and we already know that if the code is coming to the else block, this particular condition must have failed, and this is the condition where we are verifying whether the user is available in the database or not. And so if the code has reached this place, it definitely means the user is not found, and we have to give user a choice to log in and try once again. And so we are redirecting that to our login.html page. Okay, I'm saving it guys, and let us try to run this program. Okay, so I'm running it from the login page. And one more small change guys, in the previous program we have written here in action attribute as login.jsp. Okay, so in your program you also have to change this action attribute value back to login servlet. Okay, what will happen if we don't change it? Let us try it. Let us say this is login.jsp. Okay, if this is login.jsp and we have made this send redirect change in login servlet, okay, that means our login servlet class is not connected as the result page for this input form, login form. And so what will happen? Login.jsp will be considered as the resource it has to go when submit button is clicked. Okay, and what login.jsp contains? It contains this information. It is checking the data and presenting welcome message or error message. Okay, so if we don't make this small change, and in login servlet we are expecting that it has to redirect to the login.html, you may not be able to see the correct result. Let me show you. If the action attribute value is still login.jsp, what is going to be the result? Okay, so I'm giving the wrong information. I'm giving wrong password. When I click on the login button, it shows this information: wrong login credentials, try logging in again with correct email and password. Where this message is coming from? Okay, this message is coming from our login.jsp file. See, wrong login credentials, try logging in again with correct email and password. Okay, this message is coming from login.jsp, but in our login servlet we have made it to redirect to login.html. If this has to work, we have to make sure that we change the action attribute value of form tag of login page. So I'm changing it back to login servlet. Okay, now let us test it once again. Because we did not add any particular new page, we are using existing pages. We need not to start our execution once again. Let us go back and check the page. Let us go back to the login page, refresh, and I'm entering the data and I'm giving a wrong password. Click on login button and I want you to observe that it has come back to the login page. There was a small flicker kind of thing, small refresh kind of thing, and it came back to the login page. Let me show you once again. I'm entering details. Okay, I'm entering wrong password. Okay, and when I click on it, I just want you to observe this area, and you will observe that there is a flicker, there is a refresh kind of situation, and the entered data is deleted and it looks back like a reset behavior. Okay, so I'm clicking on the login button. See guys, what happened just now is it was checking the data that I have entered. It was checking whether this data is available or not. Okay, and then when the data is not available, it was redirected to login.html. Okay, that is the redirect behavior. Okay, that is our redirect behavior, send redirect behavior. Okay, that's it. Now let us try forward. Okay, so let us try forward. For forward, as I mentioned, what it will do, it will take the current page to destination page, whatever page you supply. So what we have to implement for forward, we need request dispatcher object. Okay, so we need to create the request dispatcher object, we have to supply the destination page, and then we have to use this forward method call so that it is supplied with request and response objects, and then this is our result. This is the expected result. The current page, that means from login servlet page, it will go to the success page, in our case, which is called as welcome. Okay, let us try that. Okay, so I am going to welcome servlet. Welcome servlet is currently not showing any information. Okay, currently welcome servlet is not showing any information, and yes, there is one more small thing to add up, guys. There is one more small thing to add up. In the last video, last video, I told you that we will discuss about the situation where this data is not visible in the URL. Okay, so let us take care of that part before we go ahead with the forward part. Let me show you that information from the browser. So suppose that I am entering correct data. Okay. Uh, PIKAS123. I hope that is the password. Yes, that was the password. I want you to observe that address bar. As we already discussed before, the data is visible to the other users if they observe the URL. Okay, my email and password is visible. It should not be visible. How to correct it? It's a very simple technique, guys. Very simple technique. Let me show you. All you have to do is go to your login.html page. Okay, and in login.html page, for the form attribute, you have to provide one more, sorry, form tag, you have to provide one more attribute called method, and in this method attribute you have to supply this value called post. Okay, you have to supply this value called post. When you are supplying method attribute value as post, then the data that is entered by the user will not be shared on the URL. Okay, and for that we also have to do something else. From here we are going to login servlet, right? So let us go to login servlet. In login servlet, we were previously writing all the code inside our doGet method. Why? Because I told you that by default your HTML form will implement get method. Okay, and get method makes the user makes the web page go to doGet method of the servlet. Okay, and that is the reason why we wrote everything in the doGet part. Now we have changed the login.html method type to post. Because we have changed it to post type, we have to provide a do post method. Okay, but if we are providing do post method, then maybe we have to write the do post methods. We have to write this whole code in the do post method, right? So let us try doing that. I'm going to just change this do get to do post. That's it. Okay, try to observe, guys. Previously it was do get method. I'm changing it to do post method. Everything else remains the same. Let me stop the execution because I'm making big changes in the program. Okay, so instead of providing do get method, I'm providing it as do post method. Everything else remains the same. Okay, and then now let us go back to login.html and let me run it. Previously we have added send redirect, so it should behave in the same way. Okay, let us try it. Let me run this program once again. Okay, so I'm entering the correct details. I want you to observe the URL. Let me zoom in for your reference. Okay, I want you to observe the URL. I have entered the correct credentials. I'm clicking on the login button, and this is what is happening, guys. See, it is just showing the login servlet and it is showing the welcome message, but it is not showing any of the details related to the username or password. Email address and password is not visible in the URL. Okay, that's it, guys. This is the small thing that you have to do. There is one more way of doing it. Let me show you how to do it. Okay, so there is another way of doing it, and that is, let us say in your login servlet, you want to keep both doGet method as well as doPost method. In the sense, in future, if you change your login.html page to get type, even then it should work. If that is the case, then we have to keep this method as doGet. That means we are changing it back to doGet. Okay, but we are also providing a do post method. How to do that? Okay, the easy way is just copy the signature of do get method. Copy the whole signature of do get method. That means starting from the protected keyword till the opening brace of that method. Copy the whole thing. Okay, and then create outside of the closing brace of your do get method. Okay, outside of that, paste it again. Okay, it will show the error because we are providing the same method name again, and same method name with same parameters is not allowed in Java, right? So we will change that to do post. Okay, we will change that to do post and click your cursor out at the opening brace. Just press enter. It will create a closing brace, as we already know. That is how Eclipse behaves. It is creating the closing brace. And now inside the do post method, we will just call the do get method and supply its respective request and response object. Okay, so what I mean is I'm calling do get method, supply request comma response object, and end it with a semicolon. That's it, guys. This is another way of achieving the same result, but the advantage of this is that we have both do get and do post methods available in your servlet. What is the advantage? Whether you provide method with a post value, method attribute with a post value, or you don't provide any method at all, or you change this to get method. Okay, in all the cases the program will work. That is the advantage. If you are using method equal to get, then do get method will be called. The program will execute by doing this part. If you don't provide at all, if you don't provide method attribute at all, then automatically it will be considered as the method get, and so it will go to the do get method and complete the job. Suppose that you are providing method attribute and you are supplying the value as post type, then it will go to the servlet and go to do post method and in doPost method, it will realize that you just have to call this doGet method by supplying the request and response objects. Okay, and so it will call the doGet method, and again it will do the same job. Okay, so let me once again run this program and show you that it will give the same result. Okay, I am going back to the main page, refresh. I am going to enter the details and I am giving correct values, clicking on the login button, and it shows this. It shows just the servlet name. It does not show any other details, and there is a welcome message. Okay guys, so that is it for this small video guys. In the next video we will continue with the method post always. So now onwards we will be using method post whenever we have uh, any kind of a form on our page. Okay, whenever we are sending the data from a form to another web page, we will be using method post. But if it is not a form, and if or else if there is a form where not any let us say any sensitive information is not being shared, in such cases we will be using get method. Okay, so now onwards majority of the cases we will be using post method. Okay, and in the next video we will be discussing about the concept of that forward and include, as I mentioned in the beginning of this video.